about your past tense booklet that we're going to make in Spanish. And this is for my Spanish 102 classes. And this book is going to help you with both past tenses in Spanish and will be useful to you from now until the end of the semester for your Spanish 102 class. So this is what we're going to do. What you need is you basically need 5 sheets of paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I suggest that your papers be different colors just because it's easier to see your tabs once you create your book. But if you don't have colored paper, there's no worry about it. You can make it with white computer paper from your printer, or even if you have kids around the house and you have some construction paper would work as well. So that might give you some colors. All right, so first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to actually assemble our book. So you're going to take your first sheet of paper and you're going to lay it in front of you, flat on the desk, and it's going to be in landscape. That's how we're going to lay it, the orientation. It's not going to be portrait, like how when you print out of your printer. Instead, you're going to print, it's going to be sideways, right? Landscape. Then you're going to take your next sheet of your paper and you're going to place it right here on top. You're going to place it right on top of that first sheet. And you're going to do it so that a little bit of the first sheet, the little bit of the bottom sheet, sticks out. Right? So you can just see maybe about a ½ inch of that first sheet. Then you're going to take your third sheet of paper and do the same thing. Lay it on top, but stagger it just a bit so that you can see the 2 bottom sheets. They're sticking out just a little bit. All right? Okay. And then do it again with your next sheet of paper. Lay it on top and sort of stagger it. And then with your next sheet of paper. Okay? All right. So once we've got all our papers stacked on top of each other, stagger just a little bit so that you can see all the colors, right? Or if you're using white, you should just be able to see each layer of your papers. Okay? When you do that, now lay it back down. And you're going to fold the top paper, the first sheet, the very top sheet right here. You're going to fold it in half. Fold it in half like when you used to make a Valentine's Day card for your mom when you were little. So fold it in half and you're going to fold it towards your colored tabs over here. So just fold that in half. And then the next sheet, you're going to take it and you're going to fold it as well up to the crease of that first sheet. Okay? So you're going to fold it as far over as you can. And then the same thing with the next sheet. And then the next sheet. And then your last sheet. So after you've folded them all over, you should have a little booklet that looks like this. Okay? A little booklet like this. Then we're going to want to keep our book together. So take a stapler, and at the very top right here, at the very top of your book, we're going to staple it so that it's sort of bound together and it won't fall apart on us. All right? I put maybe 2 or 3 staples in it right there at the top. See how my staples are right here at the top? Yeah, so it's nice and bound. Okay? All right, so we're going to label this, the top of your book, your first tab right here. We're just going to call this, your book is going to be the past tense. Okay, it's going to be the past tense. So make sure you go ahead and label your book, past tense right there. Okay, and then we're going to put all our rules down here that we need for the past tense. In Spanish 101, you learned to talk in the present tense. Everything you learned was how to conjugate verbs in the present tense. And now, starting with chapter 6 in Spanish 102, you're going to be able to talk about things that happened in the past. Okay? The thing is, in Spanish there are 2 past tenses. Let me pull it up for you real quick. There are two past tenses. So your past tense, really, in Spanish, we have two of them. In English, we only have one. In English, we only have one past tense. In Spanish, we have two past tenses. And one past tense is called the preterite, and the other one is called the imperfect. These are your two past tenses in Spanish, the preterite and the imperfect. We are starting to learn the preterite. We're learning the first past tense in Spanish. The preterite and the imperfect, these two past tenses in Spanish, they're kind of like the verbs ser and estar and saber and conocer. You can't use these interchangeably. We're going to have to learn the rules of when do we use the preterite to talk in the past and when do we use the imperfect to talk in the past. And we're going to include all of that as we go throughout the semester in our little booklet. But like I said, right now chapter 6 introduces you to the preterites. So we're going to talk about the preterite, which is a past tense. Okay? Preterite past tense. That's the one we're focusing on right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is on each one of our tabs, we are going to give our tab a title. So our very first tab, right here in the book, the very first tab right here that you see underneath the title page, it's my green one. See my green tab right here? That's my tab. I'm going to put the title of that tab right down here. So let me show you how it's going to be. And this is going to be regular AR, ER, and IR verbs in the preterite tense. So we're just talking about regular AR, ER, and IR verbs. Oops, my book fell apart. I'm going to have to add that back in. So write that onto your first tab right there. Kind of make it small, enough so you can read it, but we have to have enough room to put some information up here on this tab. Oh, my book's falling apart. Okay? We need enough information to put it in that tab. All right, let me fix my book here. Okay, then we're going to add to our first tab. If that happens to you, just fix your book again and restaple. Make sure we got everything in there. Now it's good. Okay, so we've added our regular AR, ER, IR verbs in the preterite tense. So we're going to add that information in. So now that we can put our endings there. Okay? All right. So the very first thing we want to do is we want to put in our book, we're going to list AR, ER, and IR, and we're going to make our verb trees. So for right here, I'm going to do AR, ER, and IR. Okay? And I'm going to make my little trees. I'm going to show y'all in a second. Right here. Okay? So AR, ER, and IR for our AR, ER, and IR verbs in the preterite tense, in the past tense. Okay? All right, so let's just do a little review before we fill in our book. Remember, when we had a verb, let's do an AR verb. Hablar. When we conjugated hablar, we basically would take off our AR ending. So we're going to take off that AR ending, and you put a new ending on it. And in the present tense, your endings were o, as, a, amos, and an. Right? We put those new endings on to our stem, our habla. So hablo, yo hablo means I talk. Tú hablas means you talk. Él, ella, or usted habla means he, she, or you formal talk. Nosotros hablamos means we talk. And ellos, ellas, and ustedes hablan means they talk. Well, we're going to do the same thing with the past tense, with the preterite tense. except our endings are going to be different. So, very first thing, we're going to do our AR verbs. Our AR verb endings are, in the yo form, it's an I with an accent mark. I'm sorry, not an I, an E, perdón. An E with an accent mark. The to ending is aste. The él, ello, and usted is O with an accent mark. The nosotros is amos. And the ustedes, ellos, and ellas is auren. So these are our new endings for our AR verbs, our regular AR verbs in the past tense. These endings will put you in the past tense. So go ahead and fill those in your book. Okay? So E with an accent mark, A, aste, O, amos, and auren. Okay? So for example, remember, in the present tense, I would say, yo hablo por teléfono. I speak on the phone. I took my AR ending off and put an O there, the O for the yo form, in the present tense, which means I speak on the phone. But if I wanted to say I spoke on the phone or talked on the phone yesterday, then I'd have to put a whole new ending on there now. I got to put on my new yo form ending for the past tense. Yo hablé por teléfono ayer. Yo hablé por teléfono ayer. That means I talked on the phone or I spoke on the phone yesterday. Ayer means yesterday. And my ending is what tells me the difference. The yo hablo here is present tense, but when I take off the AR ending and put hablé, E with an accent mark, it means I talked, but in the past. Okay. So let's fill in our ER and IR verbs. Our endings for the ER and IR verbs are the same. So we'll start with our ER first. The yo form is an I with an accent mark. The tú is iste. The él, ella, and usted is yo. The nosotros is imos. And the ellos, ellas, and ustedes is hieron. So fill in your tree for your ER endings, your regular ER verb endings. So for example, if we're using the verb comer, which means to eat, if we want to talk about past tense, we're going to take the ER off of the verb comer and we're going to put one of these new endings on, okay? So if I want to say you ate pizza yesterday, I would say tú comiste. See our iste right there for our to form? Tú comiste pizza ayer. You ate pizza yesterday. Puts us in the past tense. Okay? And they're the same endings for the IR verbs. The handy thing about this book is that in the preterite tense, there's a lot of rules and a lot of irregular verbs. So the book helps you keep all of your rules and your endings in one place. So that's really handy. And we're also going to put the rules on here of when to use the preterite tense and the imperfect tense. Remember, those are the two past tenses in Spanish. And you have to learn when to use them, when to use the preterite and when to use the imperfect, because there's rules. And we're going to put that into this book as well. So at the end of the semester, as you get closer to chapters 8 and 9, your book will be full of all your endings and all your rules, and you'll have them in one place, and you won't have to flip through your textbook. Which is especially good for those of you who have your e-textbook, because that's even harder to flip through sometimes when you're taking a quiz or taking a test. So it's all going to be right here in this book. All right, so our example verb for the IR verb is going to be like escribir. Escribir is an IR verb, and it means to write. Well, if I want to say, Pedro wrote me a love letter last year for Valentine's Day, I'm going to say, Pedro, and he's singular, escribió una carta de amor. Pedro escribió una carta de amor. He wrote me a love letter, or wrote a love letter. So we have I-O with an accent mark on it. Okay? So, make sure you have these in here. These are for your regular AR, ER, and IR verbs. Okay? What we're going to do is I'm going to end the video now. For the next video, we're going to fill out our next tab. Okay? Our next tab. So, catch me for the next tab.